everyone, and welcome to another edition of Talking Threads, the textile innovation show with me, Jessica Owen.
And me, Fiona Harron.
This week we bring you our ISPO Munich Online special, sponsored by ISPO itself, which is dedicated to all the latest trends and innovations from the leading sporting goods trade fair.
Yes, the 5-day virtual event launched on Monday with over 500 international exhibitors and a digital conference providing valuable insights for the sports and outdoor industry. And despite the physical show not being able to take place this year, there's still a hive of activity to report on, which brings us on to our ISPO News Roundup.
First up, Ruediger Performance Materials is showcasing two new developments for the sports and outdoor markets, Comfort Temp Flex and the Ruediger Active Range. Comfort Temp Flex is an adaptive thermal insulation featuring elastic reinforcement elements made from 95% recycled polyester, while the Ruediger Active Range includes highly elastic and breathable interlinings and tapes, which also contains anywhere between 70 to 100% recycled polyester.
Adidas Outdoor and Megmeister have announced a partnership at ISPO to create sustainable and high-performance outdoor apparel. The partners have introduced the first concept styles featuring Dynamo, including the ISPO Gold Award-winning Dynamo Merino LS Crew base layer. The founder of Megmeister, Jos Roterman, is hopeful that the recognition will help his company reach a larger audience.
We never expected anything like this. We were keen to sort of put it forward to see what judges would think of it. But I think what ISPO hopefully does, we as a small company, we look to sort of scale, to a little bit more scale. So we need to expand a little bit internationally. And I think ISPO could help well with bringing the attention to a company like ours.
Elsewhere, fabric manufacturer Grand Textile is exhibiting its new functional fabric called ColourMax, which has been awarded ISPO Textrends Best Product for Fall and Winter in the Street Sports category. This material is treated with a patented ColourMax finish, whereby the colour is absorbed differently during the dyeing process. Grand Textile's factory in Vietnam uses a closed-loop system where wastewater is filtered in ponds by nature, which is then reused by the company.
In another industry partnership, HiQ and Nilestar have introduced Merrell Skin Life Force at ISPO Munich Online, a new antiviral and antimicrobial fabric powered by HiQ ViraBlock with zero pollution, sustainable benefits. The hydrogen molecular structure of the fabric imparts other high performance properties in terms of moisture management, breathability and a natural stretch without elastane.
Now on to today's programme, and for the first time ever, ISPO Munich has taken a digital form this year, with organisers keen to reach the entire sports community from retailers and manufacturers to sports enthusiasts during these challenging times.
Yes, under the heading Sport is Stronger, the trade fair provides an international platform for new products, market trends and networking. And this theme is particularly relevant as the sports and outdoor industry has proven resilient to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, especially on digital channels, with a growing number of consumers becoming outdoor enthusiasts and increasingly focused on health and fitness.
Yes, when the first lockdown occurred nearly a year ago now, it meant that at least here in the UK, gyms were shut and people could only go out for once a day for some exercise. Consequently, there has been an uptake in walking, cycling and running, and equipment sales have increased as people invest in home gyms. In fact, the sportswear company ASICS did some research recently and found that 1/3 of respondents globally are more active now than they were before. The reason being that not only has the pandemic highlighted how important physical health is, but how exercise and fresh air can also keep our minds healthy too.
Definitely. Now, earlier this week, I spoke with Louisa Smith, a textile trend consultant, about the ISPO Textrends and award winners set to dominate next season across the performance textile and trim sector.
So hi Louisa, thanks for joining me today. So at ISPO Munich Online, the focus is on Textrends for fall winter 22-23. And I understand that sustainability plays an even bigger role in these trends this year. Can you give us an overview of what they are?
Sure. What we're seeing in sustainability, and when we had the jury meeting that selects the fabrics that feature in ISPO Textrends, we were all really delighted to see that sustainability is now an exclusive direction for all sectors. There's a higher level of inclusivity, sort of like a blanket aspect on sustainability, but in all forms. I mean, sustainability isn't just about recycling, it's about water saving, energy saving, sort of like less shipping, less waste, circular economy. There's so many different elements that come under the sustainability umbrella.
Yeah, of course. And the ISPO Textrends jury has awarded the most innovative products in a range of categories spanning performance finishes, membranes and coatings and street sports, to name just a few. What criteria and qualities does the jury look for when selecting the winners?
I think one of the key factors is hand feel and composition. There's no point in having a really good composition. This is what we found with some of the recycled yarns in the past. It's very interesting when you read the composition, when you touch the fabric, it was like, oh. Now, it's really important to have that tactility. The consumer wants that. We're also looking at creativity and surfaces that really pop either through structure or through unique print designs. And, it's really interesting to see, you mentioned street sports. I mean, that's a big growth area where we're seeing fashion brands delve in for performance fabrics, but we're also seeing performance apparel brands going into a more fashionable route, and they're sourcing in this area, and the mills are really coming together in creating a higher level of fashion and creativity, but still with that function that's so important.
And like many trade fairs, ISPO Munich has of course switched to an online platform this year amid the ongoing travel restrictions. So how have the organisers worked to make the event as interactive as possible, and what are your thoughts on virtual platforms?
Well, with ISPO Textrends, we have normally, like 4 months ahead, a jury meeting where the textile professionals meet up and we do a blind jury judging of the products that have been sent through. So we don't know who they're for or anything like that. So this time round we couldn't meet up. So textiles is is really very much about tactility, as I mentioned, and it was like, what are we going to do? So what happened was we did it, the jury meeting virtually, but we all received a swatch box. So we could, each of us, be on the same product at the same time, feel it, look at the composition, vote online for it. And at first I was really skeptical about the whole thing. It's like, oh, how are we going to do this? And it was really, really good. It went really well because we had a good sort of like community going on. We always learn things off each other in the jury meeting. So yeah, it was a really good sort of like move to what we traditionally do, but it is that tactility, and that's where ISPO Textrends this season has we're offering 3D presentations of fabrics, but also the new digital trend book. You can, the photos are so close to seeing the characteristics and the sort of like the fit and flow of the fabrics. As near to the sample as possible, but also with the book we can direct link to the manufacturers, so we're really sort of like saving time, because at the end of the day product developers and designers still need that fabric in their hand, just to really get a mood, get a feel for how they're going to implement it into their collections.
Well, it's unsurprising to hear Louisa say that sustainability is one of the main trends again this year. I mean, we shouldn't even call it a trend anymore. It's just something that has to be done, and companies are now realising that and are coming up with some great new innovations. But I'm glad to hear that Louisa highlighted the point regarding hand feel, because at the end of the day, performance and comfort still comes before sustainability for most consumers.
Yes, and it's great to hear how the show in general is supporting this enthusiasm for the sports and outdoor sector. It just goes to show that although we're unable to travel and meet face to face, innovation doesn't stop, and there are plenty of ways of networking and knowledge sharing thanks to digital platforms.
Now it's time for a short video from this week's show sponsor, ISPO. And after that, we'll be catching up with Sympatex about how the company is finding the show so far.
We love sports. We love the outdoors. We love bringing people together. Products, brands, and innovations. But is it enough? We see more and more complexity and challenges. More and more people are leading a passive life. Inactivity is spreading. Why? Nothing and nobody has a right to keep us from activity. Not an unhealthy lifestyle. Not unfair living conditions. Not increasingly extreme environments. Activity is not a privilege. It's a human right. We need to fight for both physical and mental activity. It's a fight that tackles the challenges our world is facing. Sports and outdoors have a special kind of power. The power to fight what holds us back. The power to change the world. It inspired us 50 years ago, and it will inspire us from here on forward. To make sports the central driver in all of us.
Welcome back. Now, I recently caught up with Ruediger Fox, CEO of Sympatex Technologies, to discuss his experience with ISPO Munich Online and to find out what the company is focusing on moving forward. So how is ISPO going? How are you enjoying the online format?
Well, I would say it's interesting for us because, first of all, I have great appreciation for all the efforts ISPO has taken to bring all the physical event into a digital form. But we, of course, also see the limitations. We have used the ISPO quite often as really the meeting place, especially for the executive level. That's kind of fading pretty rapidly away. In return, we see it as a potential new platform to get a deeper reach into the B2C community. So I would say it's hard to judge at the moment. We still need to observe it. We have a few press surprises coming up in the next 24 hours. So we'll judge afterwards, I would say. It's an experiment.
Okay. Right. So what is Sympatex exhibiting at the event then? What's the focus?
I mean, the key focus is basically kind of a step or a milestone we have reached on our journey to circularity. We started 5 years ago, and we now have the first year's production laminates available, which were actually made out of old apparel. And that's kind of our focus. We don't run like from ISPO to ISPO to create something extraordinary, but that disappears again. So it's more like half through our journey. By 2025, we want at least half of our portfolio being converted, and by 2030, completely circular. So it's a good start. We are in time.
Good. I actually read that Sympatex has got a new claim and new corporate identity, again aimed at sustainability. So are you able to talk a bit about that?
Yes, I mean, we thought a lot about how important is actually a brand versus a mission. And we realized that this industry has still quite some focus on brands, while we believe that especially the mission, which is in front of us to rebuild our industry in a very different way, needs to be in the foreground. And that's why we brainstormed a lot and came up with the claim we are the first generation, which the we actually doesn't mean us alone, but us includes everybody who is committed to that kind of journey. So we felt it's about the time now to, let's say, group together everybody who believes in that new, very different future of our industry, which still serves the customer in the way we are used to, but with very different means and approaches rather than defending the past. And that's why we thought it's the right moment in the midst of the crisis, or whatever you call it. Is it the end or just the beginning or just the first one of many? Still, we felt spreading a bit of optimism is not the wrong thing.
Yeah, definitely. And what I was going to ask, I mean, the COVID-19 pandemic has sort of disrupted everything, but many have said, like yourselves, that it's sort of a chance to explore new opportunities. Maybe it's the new beginning. So what has Sympatex learned from the pandemic in particular, and how do you hope the industry might change moving forward?
Well, I dare to say the pandemic has not disrupted one thing. And that's probably the best news of all. because that was not the case in some of the crises we went through in the last couple of decades. We don't see a disruption in the ambition of the planet, the people, whoever you main organizations, to change the way we were doing business in the past. And what's really the best news over all the dramatic crashes, financially, personally, some private disasters, our fear at the beginning was that sustainability becomes secondary. And actually what we realized, COVID-19 actually almost opened the space for a new push into sustainability. The European Commission is working so greatly on new regulations and a level playing field for everybody to bring circularity as an obligation by latest 2025. We see a strong push against the Forever Chemical Group, which is still continuing to pollute the environment, and nobody's, let's say, gave the permission. So we're extremely positive in the big picture, even though of course we have the same challenges like everybody, kind of maneuvering in this unpredictable space. But it feels good. I think it's just 5 years ago you talked closing the loop and nobody was so interested. Now almost everybody puts it somehow in the discussion space, and big organizations or governance actually try to implement it. So it's cool.
Good. Well, it's good to hear something positive at the moment. So finally then, has the company got any other plans in the pipeline that you're able to tell us about?
Well, besides the sustainability approach, we have researched a lot in how to optimize the final product manufacturing part. I think definitely we're faster in the shoe business than in the apparel business, but we have managed to build a machine that is capable to produce seamless booties for waterproof shoes, which is a strong innovation where we are discussing at the moment with a lot of clients how to enter in serious production in the next 12 months. Time was a bit challenging because we couldn't do meetings, so it's obviously not easy, but the amount of work which is coming there is really motivating. Similar pathway, we're at the moment on the trajectory to go into apparel welding, where some of our clients has brought amazing products in the market already a year ago. So I would say automation of the manufacturing of our industry in conjunction with the right material choices bears a lot of possibilities, and especially in the times of pandemic with challenging logistic chains, also to look in reversing a little bit the outsourcing fanatism we had for many decades. I mean, some of the things could be done local. So that is probably the second priority beside, of course, number one, which is closing the loop.
So Sympatex will be spending a lot of its time and energy now on optimising the manufacturing process in addition to material innovation. That's interesting. And that said, to create a circular economy, companies will have to consider the whole supply chain process, and manufacturing is definitely a major part of that.
Definitely. I also think it's interesting to hear what Ruediger thinks of ISPO Munich so far, and how the online format has made it more of a business to consumer show than a business to business affair. But as he says, it's hard to judge at the moment and he needs to observe it a bit more. Though in my opinion, while ISPO has done a great job of transferring such an important show online, I think the majority of companies and visitors are already anxiously awaiting the return of the physical event, whenever that may be.
Yeah, so now that's all we've got time for in this week's show. But the ISPO coverage doesn't stop there, as in next week's episode we'll be looking back at the event to bring you some further trends and innovation highlights.
Yes, and besides that, the theme of next week's show will be plant-based fibre innovations. And as always, we'll have some interesting guests lined up from this area of the industry, so be sure to tune in.
See you soon.